the Algerian national football team, nicknamed the Fennecs, represents Algeria in association football and is controlled by the Algerian Football Federation. Algeria's home ground is the Stade 5 Juillet 1962 in Algiers and their head coach is Christian Gourcuff. Algeria joined FIFA on January 1, 1964, a year and a half after gaining independence. Algeria has qualified for 4 World Cups in 1982, 1986, 2010 and 2014. Algeria has also won the African Cup of Nations once in 1990, when they hosted the tournament. At the 2014 World Cup, Algeria became the first African team to score 4 goals in a match at the World Cup after scoring 4 goals against South Korea. The traditional rivals of Algeria have been Morocco, Tunisia and Egypt. However, more recently, Egypt has become the main rival after a number of incidents involving the two teams, most recently during the 2010 FIFA World Cup qualification, in which Algeria defeated Egypt 1-0 in a tense tiebreaker in Omdurman in Sudan to qualify to the World Cup. History. Beginning, the team was established in 1962 as the successor of the FLN football team. 1982 FIFA World Cup. Algeria caused one of the great World Cup upsets on the first day of the tournament with a 2-1 victory over the reigning European champions, West Germany. In the final match in the group between West Germany and Austria, with Algeria having already played their final group game the day before, the European teams knew that a West German win by 1 or 2 goals would qualify them both, while a larger German victory would qualify Algeria over Austria, and a draw or an Austrian win would eliminate the Germans. After 10 minutes of all-out attack, West Germany scored through a goal by Horst Hrubesch. After the goal was scored, the two teams kicked the ball around aimlessly for the rest of the match. Chants of "Fuera, fuera" were screamed by the Spanish crowd, while angry Algerian supporters waved banknotes at the players. This performance was widely deplored, even by the German and Austrian fans. Algeria protested to FIFA, who ruled that the result be allowed to stand. FIFA introduced a revised qualification system at subsequent World Cups in which the final 2 games in each group were played simultaneously. 1986 FIFA World Cup. In 1984, Algeria took 3rd place in the 1984 Africa Cup of Nations in Stade. During the 1986 Africa Cup of Nations, the national teams recorded 2 defeats and 1 draw and was eliminated in the first round. In Mexico, at the 1986 FIFA World Cup, the Algerians were not able to pass the first round once again in a group that included Northern Ireland, Brazil, and Spain. Only one Algerian managed to score during this competition, Juillet Zidane. From there on, Algeria failed to qualify for another World Cup until 2010. 1990 African Cup of Nations. In 1990, Algeria hosted the 1990 African Cup of Nations. In Group A, the Algerians started the tournament by beating Nigeria, Stade and Egypt. In the semi-finals, Algeria beat Senegal 2-1 goals by Jamel Menad and Jamel Amani in front of 85,000 fans in the Stade 5 Juillet 1962. In the final against Nigeria, in front of 105,302 fans in the same stadium, Cherif Aljani, in the 38th minute, enabled Algeria to win the African Nations Cup for the first time. Jamel Menad was crowned top scorer of the competition with 4 goals. 1990 Euro 2008, having won an Africa Cup of Nations title, the Algerian team, however, had not managed to qualify for the 1990 FIFA World Cup in Italy. In 1991, the national team won the Afro-Asian Cup of Nations against Iran. As title holders, Algeria disappointed at the 1992 African Cup of Nations in Senegal, recording a loss against Stade and a draw against Congo 1-1, with a goal by Nazer Bouish. In 1994, Algeria was disqualified from the 1994 African Cup of Nations in Tunisia due to the use of an ineligible player and failed during the 1994 FIFA World Cup qualifying. In 1996, Algeria returned to African Cup of Nations, but were eliminated by host South Africa in the quarter-finals. the Algerians failed to qualify for the following World Cups in 1998, 2002 and 2006. During the 1998 African Cup of Nations, Algeria finished last in its group with 3 defeats and was eliminated in the group stage. In the 2000 African Cup of Nations, the Fennecs managed to pass to the first round only to lose to 2-1 to eventual champions Cameroon in the quarter-finals. Algeria once more failed to pass the first round in the African competition in 2002 but managed to get to the quarter-finals in 2004. However, they were eliminated by Morocco by a score of 3-1 after extra time, with the lone Algerian goal was scored by Abel Melkarad. Algeria failed to qualify for the following 2 Africa Cup of Nations in 2006 and 2008, although Algeria did manage to qualify for the 2010 FIFA World Cup. World Cup 2010 qualifiers. On October 11, 2008, Algeria returned to the top 20 African teams by finishing first in their group ahead of Senegal, Gambia, and Liberia for the second round on the combined 2010 World Cup and 2010 African Cup of Nations qualifications. In the third and final round of the qualifiers, Algeria was joined by Zambia, Rwanda, and Egypt. In July 2009, Algeria made their return amongst the world's top 50 after a 3-1 win against the double African champions Egypt and a 2-0 away win against Zambia. Beating Zambia in Bledo 1-0 followed by a 3-1 win against Rwanda, Algeria ensured that the qualification for the World Cup would go down to the wire with a final encounter against Egypt in Cairo, where nothing less than a loss by 3 goals would stop the Fennecs from going to South Africa. Prior to the game, the Algerian team bus was attacked, leaving several team members injured. This led to a diplomatic row between the two countries. Algeria lost the game 2-0. Algeria won the resulting playoff in Sudan 1-0. Algeria moved to the 29th position in FIFA ranking, a 1 place behind Egypt in the October 2009 ranking. In November 2009, they beat fierce rivals Egypt in a playoff 2010 World Cup in South Africa and moved to the highest FIFA ranking ever reached by Algeria in December 2009. They were drawn in Group C, where they faced England, the United States, and Slovenia. Algeria and Egypt finished with identical overall and head-to-head records. Algeria won the tie-breaking playoff 1-0 to qualify for the 2010 FIFA World Cup. Algeria, Egypt and Zambia qualified for the 2010 African Cup of Nations. African Cup of Nations 2010. The team put on a mixed performance in the tournament. Being drawn in Group A, with Angola, Malawi and Mali, Algeria started poorly by losing 3-0 to group outsiders Malawi. However, they improved in the following game against Mali, beating them 1-0 thanks to a Rafik Halish header. In the last match, they drew 0-0 with Angola, which sent them to the second round, finishing with the same amount of points as Mali, but with a superior head-to-head record. Playing in Cabinda, Algeria faced Cote d'Ivoire in the quarter-finals, who were considered heavy favourites to qualify. But they got a historic win. After trailing 1-0, Karim Matnor equalised, but Keita gave the Ivorians the lead in the 89th minute, a goal which seemed sure to seal their victory. However, the Algerians equalised with Majid Bouffera just 2 minutes later in added time, and Hammer Bouza gave the Fennecs the lead in extra time. Algeria faced Egypt in the semi-finals, Egypt, in their first meeting since the World Cup qualification playoff. In the semi-final, Egypt won 4-0, which was the biggest defeat in the history of the team's meetings. Algeria lost 1-0 to Nigeria in the third-place game and finished fourth in the competition. FIFA World Cup 2010. Algeria was drawn in Group C with England, USA, Slovenia. In their first game they lost to Slovenia 0-1. The match was scoreless until Slovenia's captain Robert Kirin scored in the 79th minute after Abdelkader Gezel was sent off for his second bookable offence. In their second group game, Algeria drew with England, leading to mass celebration throughout the world's Algerian communities. The Fennecs lost their final group game to the United States 1-0 thanks to a Landon Donovan winner in second-half injury time. Algeria exited the championship as one of two teams, along with Honduras, to fail to score a goal. 2010 Euro 11, a team in trouble. After the World Cup, bad results were growing with no wins. During that period, Algeria failed to qualify for the 2012 Africa Cup of Nations, which resulted their manager, Rabah Sow, sent Dane to be replaced with their new manager Abdelhak Benchika. Their new manager brought new faces to the squad to bolster their offense, but they still finished last in their group. After Algeria's 4-0 loss to Morocco, their manager resigned. 2011 Euro 12, the arrival of Haylilida three-quarters-year. When their new manager Vaid Haylilida three-quarters-year came, he managed to get few decent results before the start of the World Cup qualifiers. Beat Central African Republic 2-0 and beat Niger 3-0. At the start of the qualifiers, Algeria beat Rwanda 4-0 to start off brightly. Next they beat Gambia 4-1 to advance in qualifying for the 2013 Africa Cup of Nations and finally qualify by beating Libya. Chem 2013, shock results. Algeria arrived at the 2013 Africa Cup of Nations with confidence and power but kicked off with a 1-0 loss to Tunisia following a 2-0 defeat to Togo, which meant they couldn't advance to the next phase of the tournament. It was considered a shock as Algeria was considered as a favourite to win the competition. Algeria ended their campaign with a 2-2 draw with Ivory Coast. 2013 Euro 14, road to Brazil.